Welcome back to the deep dive.
Glad to be back.
Today we're opening up a file that, it's pretty much stamped top secret in way too many households.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about heavy periods. And I don't just mean the standard I need chocolate and a heating pad situation.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the kind of heavy bleeding that feels like a legitimate medical event.
It is.
The kind that keeps you trapped in your house, fearing a leak, and just leaves you feeling completely drained.
It's a massive quality of life issue. And the tragedy is that so many women, they grit their teeth and bear it.
Because they've been told it's just part of being a woman.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
But the source material we're looking at today argues the complete opposite. Heavy bleeding isn't just bad luck. It's a biological red blinking light.
It's a signal that the system is off.
That's it. To help us decode that signal, we're doing a deep dive into a really comprehensive breakdown from Dr. Eric Berg. It's titled 5 Natural Tips for Heavy Periods.
And before listeners worry that we're just going to tell them to, drink more water or think positive thoughts, let's clarify the mission here.
Right. The mission is mechanics. We aren't just listing symptoms. We are going to pop the hood and look at the engine.
Okay.
We need to understand the hormonal gears that are grinding to cause that heavy flow, specifically the relationship between estrogen, progesterone, and, here's the curveball, insulin.
Insulin, which I usually associate with, like, diabetes or bread, not my period.
We'll get there.
Okay, but first, we need to establish a baseline. Because heavy, that feels subjective, right? If I'm miserable, it feels heavy. But where's the actual biological line?
That's a fair question. Pain is subjective, but blood loss is volume. It's physics. So Dr. Berg points to specific medical benchmarks used to diagnose menorrhagia. That's the clinical term.
Menorrhagia, okay.
The technical definition is losing more than 80 milliliters of blood per cycle.
Which is impossible to visualize. I don't measure my life in milliliters.
No one does.
Yeah.
So the practical, real-world benchmarks are what matter. Are you changing your pad or tampon every single hour?
Every hour, not every 4.
Every hour. Are you passing blood clots that are, say, larger than a quarter? Or is your period just dragging on for more than 7 days?
So if you're nodding your head right now, you're hitting those benchmarks.
And you are in good company, unfortunately. The source highlights data from the CDC indicating this affects about 1 in 5 American women.
That's 20%. That's huge.
It is.
So let's get into the why. What is physically happening? Why does the body decide to open the floodgates like that?
It feels chaotic, but there's a mechanism. It's actually quite logical when you break it down. To understand the flood, you have to look at what's being flooded, the uterine lining, the endometrium.
Okay.
And that lining is built and shed based on a dance between 2 hormones, estrogen and progesterone.
The classic duo.
The builder and the maintainer. So in the first half of your cycle, estrogen is the architect. Its job is to thicken that lining. It's laying down bricks, adding mortar, building up the wall.
Right, to create a nest.
Exactly. Then progesterone comes in after ovulation to maintain that structure. It's like the site form and making sure everything is stable. If there's no pregnancy, progesterone drops, the support is gone.
And the wall comes down. That's the period.
That's the period. The problem arises when you have a condition called estrogen dominance.
Estrogen dominance. We hear that term thrown around a lot.
And it is the core of this issue. It just means your estrogen levels are too high relative to your progesterone. So going back to our analogy, imagine the bricklayer estrogen has gone rogue.
Okay.
He's working double shifts, he's drinking 6 espressos, and he just keeps stacking bricks. The wall gets way, way too thick.
So when the demolition crew comes in, when the period starts, there's just way more rubble to clear out.
Precisely. A thicker lining physically equals more blood and larger clots when it sheds. That is the root physical cause.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. But this leads to the million-dollar question. Why is the bricklayer going rogue? Where is all this extra estrogen coming from?
And this is where Dr. Berg connects it to something you didn't expect. Insulin.
Right. This is the aha moment you mentioned.
It is. We tend to silo our health. We think my period is a reproductive issue and, my blood sugar is a metabolic issue. But the body is one integrated system.
So how does eating sugar actually lead to a heavier flow? Unpack that chain reaction for us.
It's a two-pronged attack. When you eat a diet high in refined carbs and sugar, pasta, bread, soda, you spike your insulin.
Okay.
Chronically high insulin stimulates the ovaries to produce more estrogen. So right off the bat, you're handing the bricklayer more bricks.
So production goes up. That's straightforward enough.
But it gets worse. High insulin also affects the liver. And the liver is responsible for breaking down and recycling old estrogen. High insulin makes the liver sluggish in this specific task.
So not only are you making more of it, you're also failing to clear out the old stuff.
You're producing it faster than you can trash it.
That's a recipe for disaster. So that bowl of pasta isn't just affecting your waistline, it's literally rewriting the hormonal instructions for your uterus.
That's the takeaway. The kitchen is directly connected to the cycle.
Well, speaking of the kitchen, let's get into the actionable tips from Dr. Berg. Tip number 1 is a major dietary subtraction. He says, eliminate dairy.
This is often the hardest sell. People love their cheese, their lattes.
It's comfort food.
It is. But the biological argument is really compelling. We have to look at the source of modern dairy. It largely comes from pregnant cows.
And pregnant mammals are, by definition, just flooded with hormones.
Exactly. Cow's milk naturally contains estrogen and another compound called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. And they're structurally similar enough to our own hormones to interact with our systems.
So when you consume dairy, you're basically taking an external dose of growth hormones.
That's the idea.
But is it enough to actually matter? I feel like a skeptic would say, oh, it's just trace amounts. Does it really move the needle in a human body?
It's a valid skepticism. But Dr. Berg cites a study that suggests it absolutely does.
Walk us through that study.
So this is human data. Researchers measured hormone levels in men, women, and children after they drank cow's milk. And they found uterine concentrations of various estrogens.
Okay.
Estrone, estradiol, estriol. They all significantly increased in the urine of all participants. But here's the shocking detail for women.
I'm bracing myself.
They studied women who had irregular cycles. They found that in 4 out of 5 of these women, the milk intake was potent enough to actually induce ovulation.
Wait. Drinking milk triggered a reproductive event.
That's what the study observed. It shows that the endocrine effect isn't just background noise. It's loud enough to tell the ovaries to release an egg.
That is wild. So if you're already struggling with estrogen dominance, if your bricklayer is already working overtime...
You're just throwing gasoline on a fire.
Wow. Okay, so tip #1, cut the dairy to stop that external hormonal input, which brings us to tip #2. If we're cutting dairy and we know insulin is the enemy, I think I can predict where this is going.
You can. Tip #2 is adopting a healthy ketogenic diet.
Keto. But let's look at the specific mechanism for periods.
Yeah.
We know keto lowers insulin. How does that translate to fixing the bleeding?
It goes back to that insulin-estrogen link. But there's another layer involving a very specific protein called SHBG.
SHBG. Let's decode that.
Sex hormone binding globulin. It sounds complex, but just think of SHBG as a bus.
Okay, a bus.
Its job is to travel through your bloodstream and pick up hormones, like estrogen. When estrogen is on the bus, bound to SHBG, it's inactive. It can't talk to your cells.
So we want the bus. We want lots of buses.
We want a fleet of buses, exactly. We want that estrogen contained. But here's the catch. High insulin suppresses the production of SHBG.
So high insulin cancels the bus service.
It takes the buses off the road. And that leaves you with high levels of free estrogen, just walking around, knocking on doors, and telling your uterus to thicken uncontrollably.
I love that analogy. So by going keto low carb, high fat, you lower insulin, which puts the buses back on the road.
And that mops up the excess estrogen. It's a stabilizer. It's about hormonal transport.
Okay, so we're cutting carbs to lower insulin. We're cutting dairy to avoid extra hormones. What should we be piling onto our plates? That brings us to tip #3.
This is where we call in the cleanup crew. Tip #3 is cruciferous vegetables.
Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower.
Cabbage, kale, all of them.
The usual suspects. But why are they specifically good for this?
It's all about liver chemistry. These vegetables contain 2 very powerful compounds, I3C and DIM.
I3C and DIM, they sound like droids from Star Wars.
They kind of act like tech support for your liver, so that fits. Your liver's job is to filter out old estrogen, right? But it has different pathways for detoxification. Think of them like highways. Some are efficient and safe, others are messy and can create toxic byproducts.
So the liver can do a good job or a bad job cleaning up.
Exactly. I3C and DIM, they push the liver toward the safe, efficient pathway. They help convert potent estrogens into milder forms that are easily excreted.
So you need these veggies to help flush the excess out. It's not just nutrition, it's about elimination.
Spot on. You stop the intake dairy and carbs, and you accelerate the exit with cruciferous veggies. It's a complete systems flush.
I like that. Now moving to tip #4. Dr. Berg has a specific nutrient checklist, because if you're bleeding that heavily, you're losing nutrients. What are the non-negotiables?
4 key players. The first is often overlooked, Vitamin K2.
K2, I usually hear about that for bones or heart health. Why periods?
Clotting. K2 is essential for the coagulation cascade. If you're deficient, your blood can't clot efficiently. So once the bleeding starts, the body struggles to stem the flow.
That makes sense. It's a mechanical issue. And where do we get K2?
It's fat soluble. So fermented foods like sauerkraut, but also high-quality fatty meats, egg yolks, organ meats.
Okay, K2 for clotting. Next.
Iron. This is the vicious cycle of heavy periods. You bleed heavily, so you lose iron. Low iron leads to anemia, which makes you tired, short of breath.
And then you have to build new red blood cells, which requires iron.
Exactly. You have to refill the tank faster than it's leaking. So you have to prioritize bioavailable iron red meat is a great source.
Got it. What's next on the list?
Magnesium. Think of magnesium as the chill pill for your muscles. The uterus is a massive muscle. When it cramps, it's contracting violently. Magnesium helps relax that smooth muscle tissue.
So this is more for the pain management side of things.
Yes, it can significantly reduce the intensity of the cramps. Leafy greens are great, avocados, dark chocolate.
I knew chocolate was medicinal. And the last nutrient groups.
The B vitamins,
Right.
specifically B6, B12, and folate,
Yeah.
they're crucial for two reasons. One, they're cofactors in that liver detox process we talked about.
Right.
And two, they're vital for neurotransmitters, for the mood piece.
Ah, for the classic PMS symptoms.
Exactly. If you feel weepy, anxious, irritable, B vitamin deficiency often plays a role.
Okay, so we've overhauled the pantry. But there's one more major factor in tip #5, and it challenges how a lot of us manage our cycles medically. He talks about natural birth control.
This is a sensitive topic, but it's crucial. A very common medical response to heavy periods is to prescribe the pill or an IUD to regulate the cycle.
Just go on the pill. I think almost every woman has heard that phrase.
But Dr. Berg points out that for many women, synthetic hormones can just make things worse. He cites data that heavy bleeding and pain are actually the most common reasons women stop using IUDs.
So the supposed cure is causing the symptom they're trying to avoid.
In many cases, yes. Or it's just masking the root cause. So he suggests exploring non-hormonal methods, specifically tracking ovulation, the fertility awareness method.
I feel like there's a lot of fear around that, though. Is it actually reliable?
The perception is that it's risky, but the NHS in the UK states that if it's done correctly, natural family planning is between 91% and 99% effective.
99%. That's right up there with the pill.
It is. It requires diligence, but the argument is that by removing the synthetic hormones, you allow your body's own feedback loops to reset. You stop interfering with the signal so you can actually fix the noise.
It's about working with the body instead of suppressing it.
Exactly.
Now, before we wrap up, we have to put a serious disclaimer here. We've talked about diet, but heavy bleeding can sometimes be a sign of something that broccoli can't fix.
Absolutely. We have to be responsible. Dr. Berg lists specific red flags. If you have these, you need a doctor, not just a grocery list.
What are we watching for?
Bleeding after sex, bleeding that lasts way longer than normal, or signs of severe anemia, dizziness, fainting, heart palpitations.
And these could be structural things.
Yes. Uterine fibroids, polyps, adenomyosis, it could be an infection, or even rare genetic bleeding disorders like von Willebrand disease.
And you mentioned pregnancy complications, too.
Crucial point. An ectopic pregnancy or miscarriage can masquerade as a very heavy, painful period. If there's any chance you could be pregnant and you have severe pain and bleeding, that is a medical emergency.
Go to the ER.
Go to the ER.
Okay. So rule out the emergencies, then attack the lifestyle factors.
Safety first. Always.
So let's synthesize this into our deep dive action plan. If a listener wants to start today, what are the 4 pillars?
Pillar 1, lower the insulin, cut the carbs and sugar to stop overstimulating estrogen production.
Okay.
Pillar 2, ditch the dairy, don't add outside hormones to your own hormonal fire. Pillar 3, support the liver. Load up on those cruciferous veggies to help flush everything out.
And pillar 4.
Nutrient density. Make sure you're getting K2 for clotting, iron for energy, magnesium for cramps, and B vitamins for mood and detox.
It sounds like a lot, but it also sounds incredibly empowering. It takes the mystery out of it.
That's what I love about this. It connects the dots. And it leaves us with a really provocative thought. We treat our periods like these isolated monthly nuisances, right?
Yeah, totally.
But if a glass of milk or a stressful week of eating sugar can fundamentally alter the thickness of your uterine lining.
It makes you wonder what else is connected.
Exactly. If our reproductive health is that sensitive to our daily inputs, our breakfast, our stress. How many other symptoms are we treating as bad luck when they're actually just downstream effects of how we live? The body isn't a collection of parts. It's one system.
That is a thought to chew on, preferably while eating some broccoli. Thank you for guiding us through the mechanics today.
Always a pleasure to dive in.
And to you listening, thanks for trusting us with your time. Take care of your system, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive. Stay curious.